Hey guys, this is Luke from Make Masking Optional. I'm here with Shannon Johnson, Zone 3 candidate for Billings Public Schools Board of Trustees. You're not going to want to miss this interview.
So, okay, have you ever had to maintain a budget in your personal or business life?
Oh boy. In every single nook and cranny of my life, I have budgets. In fact, in healthcare, I actually have $1 million budgets, multiple millions of dollar budgets. And so you're talking about physician and provider salaries, benefits, revenue, all of that kind of stuff. So we have to go through a budget process every single year. And when we don't hit the numbers they want us to hit, guess what? We have to get creative and we have to find it somewhere. So how do you do that when everybody wants to go and cut labor first because it's the most expensive? So I could go into the school board and say, we need to cut a bunch of teachers. We need to cut a bunch of the teachers that they've got sitting at the Lincoln Center just fixing curriculum or coming up with curriculum ideas. But rather than cutting our jobs, why not, again, get creative and find that money elsewhere? Or how can we utilize other people in duplicate ways that they're more efficient or more effective? Where can we cut or make more lean? I know that's a healthcare term, but how can we make more efficient the processes that are in place right now? So there's so many other things that we could be doing in terms of this budget, and transparency is number one. You have to understand where all that money's going before you can make proper decisions or even creative ones. And I'm the queen of creativity when it comes to budgets. I'll tell you, if it's stewarding dollars, which means no, you don't spend every single dime in a line item just because they gave it to you. If you don't need it, you give it back. And that's saving money. So where's the stewardship conversations in our budget discussions? I'd like to know. But also not unnecessarily asking people for more money for mill levies and things like that. How else can we do this creatively? Where are the fundraisers? Those are pretty much gone now. So roundabout way to say, yes, I have managed many budgets in my life. And the key to that is also creativity. I mean, we have got to start thinking outside the box. Budgets don't have to be nerdy sweater boys, like looking at the number down to the penny. I mean, that's old school. Like, we can come up with a more creative way to manage it. So hope that answered that question.
All right, so we're going to shift gears again. We're going to talk about the COVID situation. And, because Make Masking Optional was formed out of the COVID scenario, but we're not just about COVID. That's not,
right.
I guess I would just like to ask a real quick question. Are you a single issue candidate? Are you just running to prevent masks from ever being put on students again?
Not just that,
right.
but yes, that. I do believe that we should never have masks on kids again. Part of that is my background as a traditional naturopath, and from what I witnessed, my child suffering every single day when he came home from school, which was headaches, back pain from having to carry a backpack all day because they wouldn't allow them to use their lockers, which is honestly outside of the mask issue. It was a shutdown issue. But this is not a single issue campaign for me, because it's just one symptom. If you want to look at it like that, it's one symptom of a bigger issue that we have with our school board. It's the way that they behave. Let's give our voice away to one person who, that's what this is really about, to be honest with you, is giving power and authority to one person, which is, there's no checks and balances to that. And it made everyone suffer. Whereas there was a compromise that you both were kind of leading the charge on, as far as making it optional and letting people have that decision. They took our decision away. So this isn't just a single thing, but it's a symptom of a greater problem, I believe.
All right, we're going to shift gears again, and we're going to talk about the subject of curriculum now.
Okay.
Okay. Do you think that parents have the right to know the curriculum that the teachers are teaching?
100% they deserve to know what the curriculum is. That does not mean that they need lesson plans every day. That does not mean that we need cameras in the schools to monitor teachers, monitor our kids. That does not mean that. I think if we're doing our job as parents, we're equipping our children with how to handle any adverse situations that could potentially occur in a classroom anyway. But I do believe that we need to make our curriculum transparent. I have heard thoughts on a portal where the curriculum is just out there for people to review. And it would have other functionality along with it. But that is one way to make it transparent for every single person to be able to peruse it if they choose. And also offer suggestions or, take a look at it, because the new math curriculum that they are proposing, they are very close to actually adopting, it was made very clear by a parent who came in to speak at the last board meeting where the background of that particular math curriculum was. And it's Amplify Math, which is a Common Core program. And I know that there is a group here in Billings that is against Common Core. I don't like it myself. I don't understand why that had to change. But at the same time, I think if parents don't get involved and we don't start looking at that curriculum, this is a two-sided thing. I mean, we have got to do our due diligence as well as parents. You don't get to say anything if you're not willing to go in and review the curriculum if it is made transparent. So that's what I will say. But it's not a control issue on teachers. It's not you have to review, you have to submit to me all of your lesson plans. It's nothing like that. But we should be able to know what's being taught and what's in the books that our kids are reading. Because I just saw another parental anecdote today, I believe it was, where her kids are reading a book that's got some inappropriate stuff in it. She doesn't like that, but that wasn't an inappropriate enough issue for the school district to send a little slip home and have us say we don't want our kids to read that book. So I think it's on both sides.
You're familiar, obviously, with the concept of critical race theory. Mm-hmm. What is your position on CRT?
I think it absolutely needs to be eliminated in every single way, and it's tricky. They are trickling it in. It's a slow drip on our kids. I read Attorney General Knutson's stance that Elsie Arnson had asked him to write, and I agree with him. I think that essentially what it boils down to is you're fighting racism with more racism. You're segregating children, but telling them that it's racist when you segregate them. It doesn't make any sense. And so it's actually creating more division with our kids. It's actually making any child feel like their race is all that matters when really, if we just don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. I mean, if we don't, well, I shouldn't necessarily say it that way, because I know kids have experienced adverse situations and stuff, but it's making my kids feel bad about how they were born, I guess is a better way to say it. I don't like that because I don't think any of us are mistakes. I think it's up to us and the community to really empower every child, no matter what their race is, that they can do anything that they set their hearts and minds to. And that's all it boils down to. But CRT is actually causing more division. So it's hurting our kids.
I think that our nation does have a very painful past, as do all nations.
Yeah.
And so I think, that some of the racist laws and some of the racist past needs to be taught in the schools.
Yes.
I think that slavery needs to be clearly taught. Yes. I think that those things need to be taught. Do you think that there's more than one way, though, to teach racism? I think CRT is not the only way to teach racism, about racism and the evils of judging people based on any of their properties, whether it be their race, their gender, their religion, any of those things.
Yeah, I absolutely think there's multiple ways. I mean, I love getting creative. There's plenty of ways that we can be teaching that. One of the things that we deploy in healthcare is actually the story, right? Like when you connect kids to an actual story, they have that empathy for whoever the characters are or the real people are. So when you're reading a history textbook, it's not super emotional, right? So how can we maybe reenact, or that, I think sometimes that's why they watch movies in classrooms, is so that they can connect emotionally. Yeah. My daughter had a teacher, and I'm going to forget which one now, but she had a teacher who actually did this all the time and applied real life learning to help them gel the topic, so it took place in the classroom. They would have war, for example, but it would be like crumpled pieces of paper and they'd have to hide behind desks and stuff. And if they got hit in the arm, they lost their arm. So then, then they couldn't use that arm, whatever. And he had this whole exercise in order to help them understand the topic of history that he was trying to teach them. So it became interactive rather than them trying to regurgitate a history manual. And my daughter learned so much. She loves history. She's in AP US history right now, and she loves it. And so she's getting college credits in high school because an educator turned on that passion for her. And I will be forever grateful to him for the approach that he took. So his was a very creative approach. There's multiple ways we could be teaching this. And she didn't come out of that class dividing or separating from anybody. She came out with an understanding of how things were, but how they are now. And she could then explain it to you because he helped them see it, you know, he helped them get that topic in like physical, you know, an actual understanding of it with experience.
Do you think that racism still exists today in Montana, in our city?
Yeah, I do. I think it exists when people focus on it and when people make comments. And I'm not going to say that I don't think that it exists, but I don't think that we're responding well to it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. And the reason I bring it up is because the criticisms of people who oppose CRT is usually that they're bigoted, they are racist themselves, they're biased, whatever. And so I just wanted you to be able to have a chance to speak to that. And along those lines, the other aspect of CRT, I think that it comes along with it. I don't know if it's connected to CRT, but they kind of get grouped together as the social emotional learning.
Yeah.
Which is the SEL stuff. What do you know about that, and what's your position on SEL?
So I don't care for it because in my mind, it's the same thing as the diversity, equity, and inclusion. Yeah. It's just for children. And so social emotional learning, that's exactly what they're trying to do, is manipulate and control emotions and make you feel like something's not equitable, make you feel like something's not fair or right or whatever. Well, I was raised to know that nothing's fair. You're going to earn everything. You go out and you work. You do an honest day's work, you know. And I get that the generations have changed a little bit in that work ethic stance, and that's fine. But it's not about woe is me. And I wasn't raised that way, and I'm not raising my children that way either. But diversity, equity, and inclusion type topics, what they do is they make people... They tell you just have a built-in bias. You're just a built-in racist. And I do not agree with that. I truly do not agree with that. My children have never been able to, they've never had they've never spoken about any differences between them and their friends. Even transgender kids at school, when they're switching names, my kids they'll just say the kid's name, and they'll say, you remember it used to be this person, because they're trying to help me understand who they're talking about. But that's it. It's just their name. It doesn't go any further than that. So if we're not fostering that in them, then to me, it's a moot point. Does that make sense, what
Absolutely.
I'm saying?
Yeah. Good. Shannon, thanks so much for your time. It was a pleasure to sit down and visit with you and hear some of your thoughts and ideas that you have. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from Shannon Johnson, straight from the horse's mouth. She is pro-public education. She's a friend of education. She is pro-student. She's pro-parent. She's pro-teacher. And I think that she has earned the right for you to vote for her. And I hope that you will vote for her on May 3rd, 2022. Watch for your ballots. They're going to be coming in the mail. Middle of April, they'll be mailed out. And when you see that, put the checkbox next to Shannon Johnson. Shannon, how can they connect with you?
You can connect with me on my website, johnson4schools.com.
Fantastic. And if you want to, you can jump on and watch these videos and see the interviews with the other candidates at makemaskinoptional.com. And we hope to see some new faces on the school board come.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much.